Hello everybody and welcome to Whiz, your family-friendly podcast where we discuss D&D Onslaught, Dice Masters, HeroClix, and the other entertaining games made by WizKids. I am the ramp to your wind condition, the wind beneath your wings, the terror that flaps in the night. I am WizDad, and I will be your guide for navigating the competitive and casual scenes of the WizKids Triforce of gaming. It's Dice Masters Monday. I know, it's been a bit, it's been a while. But today, we will finish our review of the must-have pieces, the pieces you need to own from the Dark Phoenix set. First, though, let's head over to the WizKids Progress Report.
Kowalski, Progress Report.
So, as usual with Dice Masters, there's unfortunately not much to talk about on the Progress Report. Right now, House of X is still listed in November, and there's still a lot of products for WizKids in November that don't have a set date. The only confirmation you get from the WizKids solicits that something is coming is from the solicits that have a specific date. And once again, once you get that date, that isn't a guarantee it's gonna be there, right? That's more of just like, hey, that usually means that it's in the distributor's hands, and that's when they're sending it out. The plan, at least. And so there's still quite a bit of figures in December, at least I won't say half because there's a lot of like Pathfinder and D&D minis out here, but there's a decent amount of figures out here that still don't have a November set date, and House of X is one of those. So there's still hope that comes out. I still have not heard anything from anyone from WizKids. I'll see if I can ping them again, anyone I know, to see if anyone can look into it a little bit more. Besides that, it is the off-season, not just for HeroClix, but for Dice Masters, for everything. Dice Fight is still happening on Thursday, October 19th, from 4 to 6, if you're interested in any events. But besides that, things are kind of slowed down, as per usual for this time of year, to be honest. Things pick up usually more in the spring. When it gets winter time, things kind of slow their roll a bit, if you will. That being said, I did have a lot of fun last time looking at some of the rulings, because you know what, it's just humorous for me how nice the rulings are for WizKids, for Dice Masters specifically. So taking a look at what the rulings we have had since the last time, it looks like we've really only had Black Adam and a Thing Brawn of the team, which I think I did that one a couple weeks ago. So nothing really huge to note about. I know the Dice Master community is begging for more things, and unfortunately there's not a whole lot going on. So yeah, but yeah, I think that's going to do it for this progress report. Let's just think of things more positively. Let's just jump straight into the second half of the Dark Phoenix review.
Get your gear, little man. We're going fishing. And I mean now.
Alright, so where we last left off, if you could believe it, 3 weeks ago, was at Jubilee. Now, once again, as a refresher, I'm using the DMNorth Essentials list and kind of just running through them, giving my opinion on my limited Dice Master knowledge. But which ones I would play, which ones I would pick up. If I was looking for singles or, looking to buy a brick or a display, I should say, of Dark Phoenix, what I'm hoping to pull is kind of my intentions with reviewing this. So we're going to start with the Jubilee, which I believe is the Rare Jubilee. 3 cost bolt. When Jubilee is active, when you spend energy from an X-Men die to use a global ability or field a character, deal 1 damage to target opponent or character die. So that one is great. When Jubilee is active, when you spend energy from a X-Men die to use a global. So remember, there's a lot of globals you're going to be using. And if you fill your whole team with X-Men die, now, obviously, you can't, sidekick won't count, but if it's an X-Men die that rolls energy, and you're able to kind of pump out some globals and just being able to just deal damage to target opponent or character die, that's really good. Like that's really, really good. Now the key thing is you got to keep her active. She has a 0 cost, a 1 cost, and a 2 cost to field. But other than that, yeah, this is definitely one you would want to pick up if you're into kind of a what's the word for it? I won't say alternative damage, but dealing damage in another way as opposed to just attacking. I think she fits the bill pretty well. Compared, however, to her super rare, where it says while Jubilee is active, once again, a 4 cost bolt this time around. The other one was a 3, this time is a 4 cost bolt. When Jubilee is active, when you field a character die, she deals 1 damage to your opponent and 1 damage to target character die. So, okay, this one I guess would be a little bit easier to manage because you just, when she's active, you field a character die and she just deals the damage to the opponent and then you deal 1 damage to the target character. So if you play that with another character that you effectively want to KO by taking out damage or using damage, that could be something where you're kind of dishing out a lot of damage, potentially, especially if you have a bunch of low cost, 0 field cost figures out there. She isn't requiring the X-Men die, so she has a lot more flexibility for that ability to be used. So I think you could do worse with the super rare Jubilee. Up next we have Kitty Pryde, and Kitty Pryde is Kitty Pryde. It's not Kate Pryde, right? Yeah. So she's 2 mass. Let's see. She has Infiltrate. Which, man, what does Infiltrate do? Let's take a look at the magical keywords to see what Infiltrate does. She does have, it looks like, the X-Men team ability, or sorry, X-Men symbol, and I don't honestly know what is that Hellfire? That would make sense if it was. Infiltrate. When a character die with Infiltrate attacks and is not blocked, you may choose to remove that character die from combat immediately after blockers are declared before action dice or global abilities may be used. If you do, that character die deals 1 damage to your opponent and the die remains in your field zone. So that's interesting. You could choose to basically, she gets in there and you could just choose to remove her from combat and she'll deal 1 damage and she stays in the field. So that is cool. Kind of a way to get in there and get out. So that's not bad. That's the rare Kitty Pryde. She's got 0 cost, and 1 cost field. So I could see it. I've never tried to play Infiltrate, so I don't know if I'm a good judge of character to tell you, yeah, this is going to be great. But we will move on to Common Lilandra for 3 shield. She does have a global pay 1 shield once per turn. If you have purchased a character die this turn, you may draw a die from your bag and add it to your prep area. That's obviously great. It is a kind of a prep global. I mean, it literally is. Literally, you pull a die from your bag and prep it. But you do have to purchase a character die. So it is somewhat limiting. It's something you might have to play a little bit later unless you play generally a lot of lower cost characters, because obviously if you're just starting out and just using your sidekick dice, you might not have enough to purchase some of your more expensive characters. So this one's interesting. It would be interesting to see how you play this one, in my opinion. But the super rare Lilandra, which is Lilandra Majestrix, that's interesting. 5 shield. When Lilandra is active, your opponent must pay 2 life to use an action die or global ability. That one I like a lot more. Now it's a little pricey. 5 shield to get in there. She has to be active. But considering the game's reliance on prep abilities, or global abilities for prep, your Dark Phoenixes, your Wolverines, etc., Apocalypses, etc., having her out there, so she's active, your opponent has to pay 2 life to use a global, that can throw off some rounds, right? They might have to take some actions to get rid of her, because no one wants to pay 2 life to use a global, especially for team. But then again, if you can't use it, that significantly slows team. So I actually like Lilandra a pretty decent amount. Up next, we have the Living the Dream basic action card, continuous. If... Ooh, this is very blurry. If among all character cards on your team you have at least 3 loyalty counters, your character dice get +1 attack and overcrush until the end of your turn. It does have the continuous keyword, which continuous means actions with continuous are used by moving them to the field zone. They stay there past the end of the turn. Usually they either send themselves to the use pile for an effect or allow you to send them whenever you use a global ability. If they are sent to the use pile while you are an active player, they go out of play first. As with all non-character dice, continuous dice cannot attack or block. So, I don't honestly know how I would use that one. It seems a bit tricky. Oh, it says here on their list, here you go. Use with a character that can acquire loyalty tokens, such as Magneto Idealist, which we're about to get to. But first, let's talk about magic. And I don't mean Magic the Gathering, I mean magic with a K. This is the rare magic Sorceress of Limbo 4 masks. When fielded, target character die gains Overcrush and +2 attack. Her field cost is 001. She is a defensive... Like, she's got 4, 6, and 7. So you put her out there, she can block really, really well. Plus, she can either make herself Overcrush +2 or someone else, because it's just target character. It doesn't say target another character. So she could target herself to be like a 3/4 with Overcrush for 0 field cost. I like that. I would have to think. I haven't been team building a lot with Dice Masters, and I do need to get back into it. So I do think Magic is interesting, especially for a rare. Now let's get into Magneto. Magneto has 3 that we're going to talk about on this list. First is Magneto Idealist. This is the one that had the loyalty tokens. When one of your mass characters' dice is KO'd, put a loyalty counter on Magneto card. Loyalty counters give a character die +1 attack and +1 defense, I believe. Global, pay mask once per turn during your turn. If you have no dice in your prep area, you may draw a die and place it in your prep area. So it's a prep. It's a prep where you can't have other prep in your prep area. But if you have no dice in your prep area, he's great to bring in and be able to just use that global. You can sideline him purely for the global. He's not bad as a character. 6 masked. Yeah, I don't know about the loyalty tokens. I would like to see a team that uses him effectively outside of just the globals. Up next is going to be the rare Magneto Master of Magnetism. This one is 5-cost mask. Team Watch. Spin target opposing character die to an energy face of your opponent's choice. Now, reminder of Team Watch. Team Watch says when a character with a Team Watch is active and you field another character die with the same affiliation, use their Team Watch ability. He has the, I believe it's the Brotherhood of Mutants symbol of that team. So you would have to field another Brotherhood character. That is a very powerful Team Watch ability, though. Being able to spin a target character down to energy is great. He does have the same global prep as the other Magneto. And believe it or not, the third Magneto we're going to talk about also has it. So all the Magnetos have the same global. This is the super rare Magneto, founder of the Brotherhood. 6 mask cost. While Magneto is active when one of your... I can't see the symbol very well. I believe that's Brotherhood character dice is KO'd. KO target opposing character die. Okay. So you put them out there, and if you go out there and use... I haven't looked at Brotherhood to see how good they are. But if a Brotherhood die is a lower one and it gets KO'd, hey, what do you know? They get KO'd also because Magneto is active. Either way, if you're wanting to think about what you need from this set, at least one of these Magnetos is good. Probably the rare is, in my opinion, the better one, maybe. I guess the common with the loyalty counters could arguably be better because it doesn't work on Brotherhood. It doesn't require Brotherhood, it just requires mask characters. So yeah, maybe I'd go with the common because that global is useful. Having global prep is just useful in general for team building purposes. Moving right along, let's go to making. Speaking of team building, making the team basic action card, 3 cost. Roll a character die from your used pile. If it rolls a character face, field it for free. Otherwise, prep it. Solid. Seems solid to me. The question is how often your characters go into the used pile. It's a very specific time that they go to your used pile, and you're able to kind of gonna back out. So I could see the uses for it. Kind of as a pseudo prep that requires you to be using more dice. Now for the big bad. I think this one needs no introduction. This is arguably the most meta figure in the game. There's no arguably. It is the most meta figure in the game currently. And it's the one that's probably going on most ban lists, if there are ban lists, and that's Master Mold, the super rare. It is a 6-cost shield, Endless Sentinels. When fielded, when Master Mold attacks, or when Master Mold is KO'd, place a Sentinel token with 5 attack and 5 defense into the field zone. So there's a lot of interesting mechanics you could do with that. Get a bunch of Master Molds out there, KO them with like a Corvus or something. Field them, KO them, get a Sentinel token. He comes back. Field them, KO them, etc., etc., etc. There's some teams. I have not played one of these teams. I've played against them, and they are mean for sure. So Master Mold, Endless Sentinels, by far, if you're going for anything, or if you get a display and you pull one of these, congratulations. Your friends will hate you for a little bit, but it's probably one of those that's probably going to get, banned or something. It is, I don't know how to say it. It is what it is. It's a necessary evil. I don't know. Speaking of necessary evil, Mr. Sinister, 5-cost bolt. When fielded, ignore all text on opposing character cards, including global abilities, until end of turn. He also has a global pay 3 energy. Ignore target attacking character dies text until end of turn. Now remember, that says ignore target attacking character. So it's not just someone who's fielded. It's just they have to be attacking. Either way, I could see the use of this. This is an uncommon mutant supremacist. I could definitely see the use of fielding, ignoring all text on opposing character cards. Like, that's just the whole thing. Like, that's just all cards, ignore the text. So I absolutely, and it's until the end of the turn, so it's not like it continues for ever and ever and ever. I could see that, especially if they've got like a Fantastic Four trait. You have to target the thing. Well, if you send out Mr. Sinister, he basically says, we're ignoring that text that says I have to target the thing. So very, very useful to get around some tricky cards. Next, we have the rare Mr. Sinister Dark Experimentation, 5-cost bolt. When Mr. Sinister attacks, other after blockers are declared, you may pay 2 life and have him gain +3 attack. He has a different global, pay 2 energy, field a sidekick from your used pile, prep a sidekick die from your used pile. This one is not really one you're playing to play Sinister. This is one that you're playing to play the global. It is a little bit more of an expensive prep because you're having to pay 2 energy, but it's 2 of any energy. It's not a bolt, it's not a fist, any 2 energy, and you get to field a sidekick from your used pile, and then you get to prep a sidekick. That could be useful to kind of bounce off the Dark Phoenix if you want to then KO a sidekick and then get a lower cost. So there's a lot of things you could do with it. This one, once again, is primarily used for his global. Next, we have the super rare Mr. Sinister Biologist. When 6-cost bolt, while Mr. Sinister is active, prevent non-combat damage dealt to your other character dice. So this kind of disables the Jubilee we were talking about. Some of those characters that just kind of free deal damage everywhere to take out things. Mr. Sinister kind of prevents that. And then he also has a global, which I don't think you're paying that much. Pay 3 energy, target character die gains over crush. Overcrush is still great. Reminder on Overcrush if you're not familiar with it. When attacking, if this character KOs all of its blockers or they're removed for other reasons, it deals any remaining damage to your opponent. So that could be useful on some teams that have some really high damage character die that's able to kind of get through the blockers. But otherwise, I think you're using him to mitigate kind of like a counter to certain teams that just like Jubilee type teams that just deal a lot of non-combat damage. Then again, I mean, that paying just 3 energy to give some Overcrush can be good in the right instances too. So you could do far worse. We have Common Moira, 2 cost shield. While Moira is active, when an opponent fields a continuous action die, re-roll it. If it lands on an action face, they may field it normally, otherwise send it to the used pile. That's okay. I don't know if I'm really reaching for that one. It's kind of a use case of that's interesting, but I don't know. Me personally, it would depend on how much continuous is being used right now. And I honestly couldn't give you a good answer. Next up is Moira Rare. Strength of Foresight. She is a rare. She is a founder. When Moira is active, when you field an X-Men character die with purchase costs of 3 or more, put a loyalty counter on Moira. When fielded, you may send target action die from your opponent's field zone to their used pile. That is interesting. So this would be another option if you needed loyalty counters and you didn't want to go Magneto. Moira can do it. Her field cost is just 001, but she doesn't really have much to go with that. She tops out at 2 damage, 2 defense. So this could be interesting to just get the loyalty counters to use some of the other abilities. Other than that, I'm not entirely sure I would pick up Moira. Like either Moira. Mutant Research Program is a 2-cost basic action card. If you have at least 2 active founder character dice, draw and roll 3 dice. Otherwise, draw and roll a die. So that is, Moira was a founder, but they have to be active to get those 3 dice. So I don't know if you play this one to chase just the draw and roll a die. I feel like that might be a little pointless. Unfortunately, action cards, especially basic actions, are kind of one of my weaknesses of like knowing how to play. Speaking of basic action cards, though, is Mutation. This one is a little easier to understand and play, and you probably are playing this one more often. 3 cost, swap target character die in the field zone with a target non-psychic character die in that player's used pile. Spin that character die to level 1. This does not trigger when fielded effects. You're mostly playing this one for the global. The global is pay a mask, spin one of your character die down a level to spin another character die up a level. So you are most likely playing this one for that global to be able to manipulate, I'm rolling this one down to get my other one rolled up to a 3 or a 2. Or even if you just rolled an energy, I think you could still spin it to roll it up a level, I think, from level 0 to 1. Correct me if I'm wrong. Up next is Mystique. We've got an uncommon Mystique 2 mask. When Mystique is active, reduce damage from opposing character abilities by 1. That's solid. I know I've seen this card played. When Mystique is KO'd, you may move a Brotherhood of Mutants die with purchase cost 4 or more from your use pile to your prep area. Cool. Cool. That seems pretty solid. That whole mitigating damage, reduced damage from opposing character abilities by 1 is good against Jubilee and other characters that do kind of that little ping damage. The super rare Mystique, She Walks Among Us, is a 3-cost mask. Team Watch, spin target opposing character die to an energy face of your opponent's choice. Once again, I'll mention it. Spinning die, a lot of spinning die manipulation here. It is strong. It is great because some of the things that people hate most, you got a big high defense die. Well, that high defense die isn't going to do you much if it's suddenly turned to an energy. Then now we're after Mystique. We've got a couple more. We've got Phoenix, so not Dark Phoenix, just regular Phoenix. 6 cost bolt. This is the rare Eternal Flame. When Phoenix attacks, opposing character die with less than 4 attack can't block. Meh, that's okay. I guess if they have a lot of sidekick out, you're worried about, you're trying to hit them with a big heavy hitter, then maybe Phoenix might be good to be able to send out their attack first. Well, no, I guess it's only when she attacks. Now, she does have an 8/8 on level 3. Sidekicks can't block her, so they would have to use someone bigger. So that might be okay. But, not so sure about that one. Up next is Power Bolt basic action card. It's a 3 cost. Deal 2 damage to target character, die, or player. That's it. I don't know how often Power Bolt is played. Because, like, spending the cost to buy this die, rolling it, trying to get that ability. I don't know. There's probably other ways to deal damage, but if you're, like, just straight damage from outside of combat, this might be a good way to do it if your team just doesn't have that. But maybe I need to read up more on basic actions and kind of go over it with someone who is more experienced than I am. That's probably a smart idea. Psylocke Telepath is a uncommon 2 mask. She has, when fielded, target character die gets Overcrush. That's just simply that. Her fielding cost is 0/0/1. She just gives Overcrush to someone. Pretty solid. Can't hurt with that one. Super rare is a 5 mask cost advanced telekinetic combatant. When fielded, reroll up to 2 opposing characters. Each die that does not roll a character goes to your opponent's used pile. Psylocke deals 2 damage to your opponent for each die moved. That is interesting. It might be a little too gambly for some people, but to field her, which is a pretty low field cost, you do have to pay 5 energy to purchase her though. When fielded, reroll 2 opposing characters. So field her, you reroll their die. If it's a character, it goes to their used pile, and she deals 2 damage to your opponent for each one you move. Or sorry, each time that does not roll a character goes to your opponent. So if you roll energy, and I think each one would be a 50% chance. So 2 50% chances, you're dealing 2 damage to your opponent. That's not bad for just one character. Not bad at all. Up next, we've got Radicalization, a basic action card, 3 cost. Deal 3 damage to a target X-Men or Brotherhood of Mutants character die. It has the 2 asterisks. Also, if you hit that 2 asterisks, also KO target sidekick character die. Solid. It does have a unique global. Pay a shield. Target character die gains X-Men or Brotherhood of Mutants like a symbol. So this one is useful if you're playing like that Magneto from earlier, or an X-Men team that really plays off of the symbol, but it's someone that doesn't have one but would work well. Well, you can use Radicalization to kind of pay that global, so that way that die can benefit from the X-Men or the Brotherhood of Mutants abilities. So I like this one. If you're going to play X-Men or Brotherhood of Mutants, you probably strongly consider this card, because it's kind of like keyword cheating a little bit in hero clicks. Just a little bit. We've got 7 more to go. We've got Rogue with a 3 mask. It's an uncommon surveillance immunity. When fielded, send target action die from the field zone to your opponent's used pile. Fielding Rogue does not trigger opposing effects. Okay. Send a target action die from the field zone to your opponent's used pile. That really depends on how many actions are being used. I don't know if this is a heavy action competitive scene right now, but it is an interesting one. I don't know if you necessarily have to have it, but if you're buying a display, you probably end up with one of her anyway, because she is an uncommon. We have a rare Sabretooth next, 5 cost fist. When Sabretooth attacks, your Brotherhood of Mutants character's dice get +2 attack. He also has Team Watch. Target character die can't block this turn. Okay, so he works as a good combo with your Brotherhood of Mutants characters. That's great. giving them a plus. You know, it doesn't say just one character die gets a +2 attack. It says your Brotherhood of Mutants character dice get +2. So if you've got a decent amount out there, some mystiques and stuff, he can kind of ramp them up a bit with some damage. Some attack, I mean. Uncommon Storm, 4-cost Bolt. When fielded, target character die with 3 attack or less can't be blocked this turn. That's okay. Nothing really to write home about that one. It kind of makes sense on what it does. The other Storm, though, ooh, this one's a 7-cost Bolt. When fielded, reroll a target character die. When Storm attacks, reroll up to 2 opposing character dice. Move each die that does not roll a character. Move each die that does not roll a character goes to your opponent's used pile. Storm deals 2 damage to your opponent for each die moved, so it's kind of like Psylocke, but way more expensive. But also has Energize. Reroll target opposing character dice. Remember, Energize, as a reminder, is whenever you roll this die on one of its double energy faces, you must use this Energize effect. During the roll and reroll step, only check at the end of the step. The character with Energize does not need to be active for the ability to trigger. So that Energize, just reroll target opposing character die. If you never field her, which you could, she is a 2... Her 1 and 2 are no field costs. Her 3 is just a 1. You could probably field her. It's not bad. Rounding out things, we've got Frontline, the basic action card, 5 cost. Unblocked attacking character dice gain +3 attack until the end of the turn. And then Pay a Fist, target opposing character die cannot block this turn unless your opponent pays 1 life. I think you play this card purely for the global. I don't think you pay this for the unblock, ability. This is one of those action cards you just play and you have it on your sideline and you just use the global. I think that's pretty cut and dry. We've got Vulcan, the rare, aggression, 6-cost fist. While Vulcan is active, your opponent's non-fist characters get -2 defense. He has a global, pay a fist, target character die must attack this turn. Yeah, I think you're probably playing him for the global. He's not bad as an attacker, but 6 cost is kind of high. I would wager he's more of a global. And speaking of being a global, our last one is Wolverine Trainer, 4-cost fist. He has Awaken, target sidekick character die gains deadly. He has asterisk when you spin up another character die, spin Wolverine up also. But he is 9 times out of 10 played for his global, pay a fist. Once per turn, on your turn, prep a die from your bag. That's cut and dry, pretty much what he is used for. That's what I've used him for. And he is arguably one of the best preps in the game, so absolutely pick him up. Prep is very strong and needed for a lot of teams nowadays. So that's going to do it for our Dark Phoenix review. If there's still interest, I'll continue on to the other 2 modern sets, because I'm kind of interested. I've played with the Secret Wars dice, the Dark Phoenix dice. I have not played with any from Infinity War or Superman Returns, so I might do that just for my own interest, because I do not have... we don't have experience. I don't have experience with that. So, but either way, thank you guys for listening. I will catch you guys on Wednesday for Onslaught Wednesday, and you have a great day.